The Hawks lose 4-3 in overtime to that dastardly rich kid, Zach Hyman, and the Edmonton Oilers. Greg Boyson and I are going to break it down next. Mario Tirabassi will join us from the now bat-free United Center. Join us for the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks postgame podcast. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Greg Boyson. There he is right there.
Hi.
Katie's over there. You can't see her. She is overworked and exhausted, and she might pass out halfway through the show. So if we go off the air, that's what happened. And give one up for Katie because she's working quadruple time today, and we appreciate that very, very much. Do us a favor if you're on the YouTube page. Hit that like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed to that YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you follow or subscribe on your favorite app and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. As we mentioned, Hawks lose 4-3 to the Oilers. The Hawks get goals from Lucas Reichel, Ryan Donato, and Alec Martinez, but it is Zach Hyman in overtime. Oilers on the power play in overtime. That is a recipe for disaster.
Yes, especially when you survived 3 power plays already that night. You don't want to push your luck, but it's just the way it happened tonight. But before we get into the weeds of this game, before I forget, and while it's actually still February 5th, I just wanted to give out a shout-out for National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
Katie, Emma, Sarah.
Katie is killing it today. That's why I'm wearing my Wonder Woman shirt today. I have had the honor and pleasure to work with a ton of talented women in my career and learn from them. And just giving a shout out to all the women and girls who are killing it in sports. This is a ridiculously tough industry to succeed in. And unfortunately for the women, it's even tougher, especially in this climate of faceless, anonymous trolls on social media. But just wanted to get that out of the way before I forgot.
No, very good point. And as you mentioned, Katie's here. Sarah is our typical post-game producer, every show producer, really. Emma is our social media director. We've got Amanda. And we've got so many talented people just in this building, let alone our mutual friend, Casey Standahar, who was here when we launched the station. And I worked with Layla Rahimi for years. So many wonderful women in sports. And look, my daughter's one of them. She's a softball player, soon to be a high school softball player. And she's been inspired by so many women in sports.
Future score producer.
Oh, God, hell no. I will not allow it. I will lock her in a cage before I let that happen. Anyway, just good point, Greg. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you very much. So, by the way, you mentioned killing 3 penalties. They didn't just kill those penalties.
They were good.
Troy Murray with the stat during the second intermission. Hawks were shorthanded 3 times in the first 2 periods. Shots were 3-3. They did a hell of a job on a penalty kill, and really
they had some shorthanded chances.
Yeah,
Ilya Mikheyev, Frank, even Seth Jones had a nice chance there in the second period, like a 3-on-2 shorthanded. Very impressed. They were taking away the passing lanes, doing a good job forcing turnovers, clearing the puck. But in overtime, 4-on-3, no Jason Dickinson out there.
Yeah, they played most of the game without Dickinson.
Let's be honest. The Oilers had a 3-on-1 in overtime with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard, and somehow didn't even get a shot on goal. I said off the air, tomorrow, if there's practice tomorrow, the next time I'm in the room, I'm going to keep my recorder in my pocket and ask Seth Jones, what was really going through your mind when you saw those 3 guys bearing down on you with the game on the line? But listen, tonight is not a game that you're going to, throw hats, get angry about.
No.
This was a game that they 3 games against the Oilers this year, they've played them really well. They won that first game early in the season in Edmonton. About a month ago, they played at the United Center. They only lost by a goal. Tonight, you get to overtime. Nice late third period comeback. Didn't roll over and play dead. Some of the young guys, again, making a difference. It's what you want to see down the stretch here.
I have no complaints about the way the Blackhawks played this game. None. I mean, look, you're
especially coming off that just putrid game against Florida on Saturday.
And you're playing against who most people picked to win the Stanley Cup.
And you're playing last year's Stanley Cup final in back-to-back games.
100%. Like it was a competitive game. You could argue they were the better team for most of this game. You know, they're just out-talented in this one. And as soon as there is an overtime opportunity for a team with that much scoring firepower, it's a matter of time, and it didn't take the Oilers long to win in overtime. A little bit of breaking news here. Ben Pope tweeting this quote from Anders Sorensen on Jason Dickinson's injury. Quote, "It doesn't look good."
It didn't.
That from Sorensen that's real bad because he's usually, we'll see, we'll evaluate.
He never gives you, like, Luke Richardson would always just give you the 4 weeks, but Anders really doesn't give you nothing. He'll just say LTIR or injured reserve, whatever. But yeah, for him to say it doesn't look good is not great.
And Tab Bamford from Bleacher Nation says Jason Dickinson left the United Center with a walking boot on his left foot. So looks like he's going to certainly miss some time coming up here. And you mentioned it during the game. I hope Colton Dock isn't too far
I hope
on his way to Rockford because he might just have to turn around.
Well, with the ice out there, just stay put.
He might be spinning around without his...
Hang out at the Elgin Oasis for a couple hours till the ice trucks come out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not good, not great. But on the bright side, if you were going to get injured, this is the right time to do it because there's a 2-week break coming up after this.
I guess so. And
if you're going to be out 4 weeks, 2 weeks is with not missing any games. So.
Yeah, and if it's a walking boot, that means he's obviously walking on it. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. We'll know more tomorrow. That's Anders Sorensen kind of added that to the comments as well. But that did not look good when it happened.
No.
Could not put any weight on that leg. And it's a big loss, but it's going to be an opportunity for a young player. And Lucas Reichel stepped into that role primarily today and looked really good. Mm-hmm. Had an outstanding game, including a goal. So that sort of leads us nicely to our 4 stars of the game. He's not one of them. The 3 stars, Ryan Donato, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman. So our nominees for you, Ilya Mikheyev, who is just all over the ice, all 3 zones, playing just a really solid game. Teuvo Teravainen with a pair of points in this game. And Frank Nazar, who generated some offense and made some stellar defensive plays, including stopping Connor McDavid on a breakaway in overtime. Not a lot of guys can do that. Frank Nazar did it and did it with confidence. So he's your 3rd nominee. So again, Mikheyev, Teravainen, Nazar, get those votes in on our YouTube channel right now.
Yeah, it's Nazar, very impressive. Watching Frank Nazar play in person, you really get to see that how quickly he gets to top speed.
Yeah, 0 to 60 in a blink.
It's not that he's one of the fastest guys on the team, which he is.
Yeah.
But it's the ability to go from standing still to top speed with very little effort that makes you special. You could be the fastest guy in the planet, but if it takes you 5-6 strides to get to full speed, the play's already done. It's already going back the other way. And now you're just out of breath and got to catch up again. But with him, it's 1 stride and boom, he's gone. It's so impressive to see that in person. And that was a great play in overtime. He had a couple other, he was very noticeable on the penalty kill, as we talked about earlier. His speed and aggressiveness and just his hockey smarts out there is great. I love the fact that Anders Sorensen didn't waste any time and get him on the PK because he had him in the PK in Rockford.
Outstanding.
I mean, his first AHL goal was a shorthanded goal. So he knows what to do out there. I know if you just, if you haven't really been paying attention, watching the games, I know a lot of people still can't watch the games.
Don't have a choice.
And then you just look at the stats and you go, Nazar's only got a couple goals and a couple points since he's been here. He's probably not that good, but it's all these little things that you see, and they're all going to add up and eventually turn out to be a really good hockey player.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you just looked up and down this lineup at some of the young players, like I think that obviously Landon Slaggert had a really solid game too, creating chances, winning board battles, playing with speed. He had a really nice play against McDavid in this game as well. Connor Bedard had a nice play against McDavid in this game. Like, you're seeing these young guys, despite the result of this game, I don't know, you look up and down to the young guys and say, who do you not feel great about right now? And I'll tell you, the young guy who's struggling the most is Alex Vlasic.
Yeah.
And it's a down streak. Fine. Those are going to happen in a career, and especially a guy who logs as much ice time as Vlasic does. I think the break is coming right in time for him, but he still is one of your more dependable players through 60 minutes. So, look, this team's going to get younger. March 7th is the trade deadline, and I'm here for it, man, because these young guys for the Hawks have looked pretty solid.
Yeah, and that we were having a conversation with our buddy Matt Peck from CHGO Bowls before we went on the air, and he was kind of just, asking what's it going to be down, the Hawks in line for the number 1 pick again. And I said, well, even if they have a good finish to the season, they're still going to be top 3 pick. They're not, they'll probably beat out San Jose, but they're not catching anybody else after that unless somebody completely flops. But as I said, if after the trade deadline, you get 3 or 4 more spots open for some of these kids, and Colton Dock's playing, and Slaggert's still here, and Del Mastro and Allen are playing every night, and you go and you win, you go 500 down the stretch, and maybe you pick 4th instead of 2nd, but it's the young kids that are different. I don't have a problem with that.
No, not at all.
I mean, that's what you want. This is what this season turned out to be about. Yes, originally it was going to be, we're going to be competitive. We're going to, we're not going to accept another worst team in the league season. Well, whoops. But
technically,
well, yeah,
they're not.
But if you get these kids, we've seen the progression of the kids already this season. If that continues and they lead you to some victories down the stretch, and you build off of that going into the off season, then this was a successful season. To have these guys that matter, that are going to matter when this team is good again, be the difference makers on a nightly basis, then this was a successful season. Points be damned.
Yeah.
And you look at a kid like Kevin Korchinski that wins the AHL All-Star MVP the other night. He's progressing. And, we got to see Levshinov at practice this week. And, yeah, practice, everybody looks like a superstar in practice, but you see...
Not everybody.
Right.
But your point remains.
But you got to see that raw ability that made him, like, we never got to see him in person because he missed all training camp, and I haven't been able to go to Rockford yet this year. But just to see that size and the speed and the ease that he moves through the ice, you're like, oh, okay. That looks like something there. It's still so raw and underdeveloped, but it's going to come over the next couple of years. But you see why that pick was made.
I'm going to go to the Wayback Machine for people. And I remember for those older Hawks fans like me and Greg, if you remember when the Hawks finally signed Tuomo Ruutu, it was kind of like camp had not, he wasn't able to get there for the very start of camp yet. And that was a pretty bad Hawks team. It was like Igor Radulov, and like, it was just bum upon bum. Yeah. And then his first day he showed up, and it was like, that's a different dude. And Tuomo Ruutu ultimately was not like an all-star level player, but even
he is in your heart though.
He is in my, well, had he stayed healthy, he had some freak injuries. But the point is, you know it when you see it, even if it's a practice. And Levshinov was pretty clearly moving with a different level of authority, and the vision was there, and he was able to put the puck through lanes. And again, it is practice. It's 80% intensity. So I'm not going to call him an all-star based on 2 practices, but you can see the raw skills are there. All right, we got to hit the break zone. We've got a whole bunch more coming up, including your super chats. We'll hear from Mario Cheribasi at the top of the hour, and we're going to hear from Anders Sorensen coming up in the next segment, so we can hear from his own mouth what his thoughts about this game, and maybe some more on Jason Dickinson. Hit that like button for us. We'll be back in a moment on CHGO Blackhawks. And are you trying to find a healthier way to relieve aches and pains while getting a better night's sleep? Yes, I am. Try Cornbread's Hemp USDA Organic CBD Gummies. Cornbread offers the first USDA Organic CBD gummy in the USA. Their CBD gummies are the highest quality full spectrum gummies on the market. And here's what sets them apart. They're full spectrum, USDA certified organic, made from flower only, never the whole plant. They're third-party lab tested for potency, terpenes, and I'm not going to try this word. Oh, contaminants. I can read that. It's just late. That's all. They're vegan, dairy-free, and gluten-free, so Mario can have without pooping his pants. With no artificial flavors or preservatives, Cornbread offers free shipping and backs all products with their 30-day Better Life guarantee. Take Cornbread's 2-minute quiz to get custom recommendations tailored to your needs, whether for aches, pains, sleep support, or stress relief. I have tried these. They are outstanding. I recommend them very, very much. Love them. Get yourself some Cornbread CBD gummies today. And you can also get yourself the brand new Sam Adams American Light. It is the best. Light beer just got better. It's clean. It's crisp. It's super easy to drink. There's no gimmicks. There's no fluff. We've got the big game on Sunday. Get yourself some Sam Adams American Light. Kick back and enjoy the contest, the referee bowl. Sam Adams American Light is not your average light beer. It is brewed with 100% American source ingredients from local independent farmers. It's light beer that is made right. Light beer just got better. Grab some Sam Adams American Light. Available now at Chicago retailers. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly. And that brings us to our Sam Adams American Light. What's brewing? What's brewing today was pretty much every scout in the NHL was at this game. There were scouts from Tab had the list. I'm trying to pull it up here. He had a lot of tweets during the game, but like over a dozen teams were represented scouting this game. There's a list for those who have never been in the press box, which I would assume is most of you. There's a TV screen, and it shows all the seat assignments, and it lists all the teams that are there to see. And it had here, I got the list here from Tab: Boston, Washington, Vancouver, Detroit, Winnipeg, Anaheim, the Rangers, Utah, Tampa, Columbus, Seattle, Florida, Nashville, San Jose. All those teams had scouts in the building. So that's what's brewing from Sam Adams American Light. All right. Super chats, Katie, we got a couple? We got one. All right, from Wild Rose Photography. What was your opinion on the refs tonight?
Fine. The first Bedard hooking penalty on
it was a little
on McDavid. If that was Matthias Janmark, he did that too. That's not a penalty. But superstar gets superstar call. One day Bedard hopefully will get to the point where he gets those kind of calls against him. But overall, there wasn't anything where I was like, "Oh my God, how'd you not call that?"
Yeah, there were a few like, you probably could have called them based on what you called against, like you said, Bedard. But
yeah,
nothing was egregious.
Alex Martinez is not going to draw the same kind of penalties Connor McDavid does. So
he's got more cups than McDavid. Just saying.
For the next 3 years, yes. But no, it was fine. It was average NHL officiating. Not great, not bad.
Exactly. And one more super chat from Chris P, who's with a super chat pretty much every show these days. Thank you, Chris. He says, which Chicago stadium has the best food, and what is your favorite thing to eat at the United Center? The Rate has the best food. Sox Park has the best food.
Yeah, I don't get there very often, but they do have good food.
It's one of Chicago's best restaurants.
I mean, they have to have something there.
And there's plenty of seats available.
Right. You don't have to reserve a table.
But their brats with the grilled onions.
I like the fact that you can get a rainbow cone there.
Yes, you can.
The churros are great.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got good food there.
Best thing at the United Center? I
don't eat
much of the actual press box food.
The concession stand very often. So
there's Little Goat tacos, which are pretty great.
I really cannot think of one good thing at the United Center.
There's honey butter fried chicken, but that's a tough arena.
When I was game eat.
When I was the season ticket holder with the Hawks, my go-to was the old Sweet Baby Ray's
the
stand
steakhouse up
on
in the
the-
300
yeah.
level. Yeah.
that was good.
Now it's another beer company, I believe.
Or is it like a walk-in?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just I don't know. I don't get to do the concession stands very often, and usually when I do, it's like screw it, just give me a hot dog.
Hot dog nachos.
I don't feel like
easy.
waiting in line for any of this fancy stuff. Just
Yeah.
give me a hot dog or a slice of crappy pizza.
Yeah. No, Sox Park is the winner for best food.
You have to say Wrigley Field's food's gotten better.
It has gotten better. It went from bad to replacement level.
Yeah, there's depending on what you get, but if you get there early when the stuff is fresh,
Yeah.
and put it all in one bin so they think it's nachos and not 8 separate items.
Don't give it away, man.
Pro tip:
Don't give it
I
away.
did that by accident once, and then on purpose 4 times.
Do we have
Ricketts can
Andrews
afford
ready to go, Katie? All right, let's hear from Andrew Sorensen after this game. Curious to hear what he had to say about the team's performance, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more here on Jason Dickinson.
Jason Dickinson walk out of here with the walking boot on his left foot. How is he doing?
Not good, but we'll see where he's at tomorrow.
You're not expecting great news at this point? Might be some time out?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. But
How much of a emotional blow is that, knowing all the things that Dickinson does?
yeah, I mean he's valuable for us, right? He does a lot of PK and a lot of face-offs, tough matchups. So, but I thought a lot of guys stepped up after his absence here when he got hurt.
What did you think of the game overall? It looked like you guys did a lot of good things. I mean, some lapses early in the third, but overall it looked like a very good game for you for the most part.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a lot more good than negative, so to speak. But that's the difference, right? Like when you have those little lapses. But we really feel like the pushback after being down 3-1, we showed a lot of resilience there and coming back, and that was really positive and really good to see for our group.
How would you assess the team game overall?
Yeah, like I said, definitely more good than negatives. I thought it was overall a good game.
Seemed like the Slaggert, Bedard, Donato line came out in the first period, like the first 4 shifts, like really good, generating chances. But what was your overall take of them?
Yeah, I thought they were good. I thought off the rush we had a couple of turnovers there that we, obviously kind of hurt us a little bit. But other than that, I thought they generated. And then when Dickey left, there was a little bit of a jumbling of lines. But then we kind of put them together here back in the third. And obviously it was a big goal for us, right?
The TNT panel kind of criticized Bedard for going for a line change before Edmonton's first goal. Would you like him to stay on there, or do you have any thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to look at it.
All right. We saw Connor Murphy look like he was in some pain in the second, but he did come back. He's okay, I guess.
Yeah, he finished the game, and yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, but it's something with his leg there. I don't know if it was his knee or his ankle, but he finished, so should be good.
Do you have a body part for Dickinson?
It looked like the leg, right? So we'll update tomorrow.
All right, there's Andrew Sorensen after the Hawks 4-3 overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, not a ton more there on Dickinson, but it's not good. It's not good. Be curious to see who they recall because it looks like he's going to miss some time. Before we get to Mario, who is standing by, we'll get to him at the top of the hour here. I know there was some more intermission commentary about Connor Bedard today, and I will say I do find it comical that Paul Bissonnette is the one who is evaluating Connor Bedard's game. Fine. He made some valid points. Make better decisions at the blue line, little harder on your passes sometimes. But here's the thing. It is getting to the point now where it seems like national outlets are looking for a reason to criticize Connor Bedard because they see that it generates attention. They see that it generates conversation, and they want to do that. Connor Bedard in this game, despite taking 2 penalties, was the 3rd highest rated player in the game behind only Ryan Donato and Jeff Skinner. He had an assist. He also had 3 shots on goal, 7 shot attempts, won 8 and lost 5 of his faceoffs. Connor Bedard was probably the best player on the ice for either team in this game.
And I wonder if the TNT crew and what they said tonight was
there's some validity
right.
to that.
They're not wrong by any means. Connor Bedard is far from free of criticism. He needs to improve in a lot of areas. But again, still very young on this in his NHL career, still learning, still not playing with super talented players.
Right.
I mean, we all love Ryan Donato and Landon Slaggert, but let's be honest, those are fourth liners. He's playing with 2 fourth liners.
Yes.
So, but I wonder if TNT in the post-game show gave Connor Bedard credit for winning a board battle against Darnell Nurse to set up the game-tying goal.
I don't know if they did or not.
I would hope they did. If you're going to sit there and say, look at all these bad, lazy plays, soft plays, then show him when he does something good.
Well, what pissed me off about it, too, was they're breaking it down, and Bedard makes a cross-ice pass, and he calls for it back, and it doesn't get to him. And Bissonnette goes, and Bedard shrugged his shoulders like he was mad. You can't see that. How do you... I watched the play. He might have shrugged because he's disappointed that the play didn't work out. The implication that this is like this recurring theme that is just crazy to me, that he's unhappy or pissed or whatever it might be. We're around him 4 days a week. He never complains. He's got a smile on his face most of the time, unless he has to talk to us, which is understandable. He's out there, first guy on the ice, last guy off. He works his ass off. I haven't heard a teammate really be critical of him in terms of work ethic, of anything like that. It's just bizarre. And it's people are finding things to be critical of.
It's weird. You don't see people going out of their way to show you bad turnovers from Macklin Celebrini, who I'm sure makes them.
No. Connor McDavid was a -2 with 2 shots on goal today.
I don't watch a whole lot of San Jose Sharks hockey for a lot of reasons. Most of them, they're bad. But I don't see this stuff that every time Macklin Celebrini gets knocked off a puck or gets out-muscled on a play by Sam freaking Reinhart, one of the best power forwards in the game, who does that to basically everybody in the league. I don't see anybody going crazy with that criticism. Maybe I'm missing it, but yes, Connor Bedard is not free from criticism.
No.
He has a lot of improvements to make at this point of his career, 2 years in. I'm ready for next season. Let's get him on the wing. Let's just take away the center responsibility for him. If he can't do it through 2 years, we can circle back and revisit it when he's bigger, stronger, faster, and more responsible. But like the whole he needs to get better at defense thing is 100% true, but it's also getting blown out of the water.
But he's also doing it. He's doing it.
Connor Bedard was not drafted to win Selke trophies. Connor Bedard was drafted to win Hart trophies and Rocket Richard trophies. And if he becomes a serviceable 200-foot player along the way, awesome. If he is hell-bent on becoming a Selke finalist in the back half of his career, even better. But he wasn't drafted to be Patrice Bergeron.
No. It is very similar to Sidney Crosby and LeBron James. These two guys come out with all the hype in the world and basically meet it. I mean, Sidney Crosby's probably on the Mount Rushmore of hockey or very, very close to it when his career's over. LeBron James went on to be maybe the 4th or 5th best player in history at worst, right? But people just don't like the hype. They heard about it, and the guy's not immediately Connor McDavid in his prime, so he's a bust. And I've seen people in the chat saying, well, they said he's generational, and generational needs to be great right away. He won the Calder Trophy. If you look at him through the first 100 games of his career, he's on pace with Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, some of the best generational players of this generation. That's what the term means. Of this generation of players, he is up there with these guys.
Generational players also need to have teammates.
Yes.
Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have been great together. And now the Oilers are looking, they made the Cup final last year, and they're one of the favorites to do it again this year. Why? Because they have a deep team. It's not just those two guys having to do everything all the time.
Yes, it would be really nice to have. I mean, think of the line mates he has had: Philip Kurashev, Ryan Donato, Landon Slaggert. He hasn't really played with Table. The best player that Connor Bedard has played with on a regular basis is Tyler Bertuzzi.
Right. And I don't know about that. Like, yeah, he should be playing with better players than Tyler Bertuzzi. And I'm not slamming Tyler Bertuzzi.
No, but it's fact.
He's
on a good team. He's the second line, third line guy.
Right.
All right, we got to hit the break zone. Mario is standing by at the UC. He'll bring us everything he heard in the locker room and more coming up next on the CHGO Blackhawks postgame show. And do you smell? You might smell kind of bad. It's not you. I don't think it's you. It might be me today. I had hot chicken for lunch, and I am fighting it today. I need some more Mando. I got to rub some more on. Mando is outstanding in his whole body deodorant. You can use it anywhere on your body, your pits, your balls, your thigh folds. Yeah, lots of those. Your belly buttons, your butt cracks, your feet. Whatever is stinky, you can put Mando on it. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. They've got a variety of wonderful scents. The bourbon leather, the Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or the Pro Sport. I love the Clover Woods. That's my favorite. It is clinically proven.
Tiger's daughter?
Yes. It's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle odor level is 0 out of 10. And
Who's measuring this?
That's what I'm saying. As much as we praise the guy who caught the bat tonight at the United Center, the Grundle sniffer guy, that's the American hero we need.
That's some hazard pay right there.
If you're not sure about Mando, and I get it. You see these ads, you're not sure what's real, what's not. I can tell you, I'm a customer. I love it. But they've got a starter pack, which is perfect for you. Solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And it's a special offer to our listeners. New customers will get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And we mentioned earlier in the show, the big game's coming up. And there's nothing more fun than daily fantasy with our friends at Prize Picks. Will Saquon Barkley rush for more than 112.5 yards? Will Jalen Hurts pass for more than 215.5 yards? Will Travis Kelce have more than 62.5 receiving yards? How about Xavier Worthy, 56.5 receiving yards? These are the kinds of games you play on Prize Picks. You just choose more than or less than. The more you pick, the more you get right, the more you can win.
Can I bet on the guys in stripes?
I don't know if that's on there, but you should give it a shot. Prize Picks is so much fun. I love playing it. You will love playing it too. Download the app today. Use the code CHGO to get $50 off instantly. I'm sorry, $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download that app. Use the code CHGO. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, I am done reading. Any more super chats we need to get to before we get Mario in here, Katie?
No new ones. No.
Wow. All right, we'll just hit the like button for us anyway. That counts as a super chat. And now we will go out to United Center and welcome our buddy who is standing by with his fresh haircut. It is Mario Cherabassi. Hello.
What's up? What's going on?
Before I forget,
yes,
be very careful outside. If you have your skates with you, put them on. It is ridiculously icy and dangerous outside.
So I've heard. Yeah. There's some skates in the hallway that say C. McDavid on them. I might just grab those.
Yeah, grab those and then throw them up on eBay when you're done.
Yeah.
We heard from Andrew Sorensen. Doesn't sound like great news on Jason Dickinson. Tab Bamford reported that he left the building in a walking boot. Anything else you can offer on that front?
Yeah, I mean he was in a walking boot. I mean, see the play. It looked really rough. I think the walking boot at least gives you an idea. It might be more likely an ankle rather than a knee, and I think that maybe that's a better case scenario. I'm not entirely sure. We'll get more information tomorrow. on it. But yeah, I mean, I think based off of what Andrew's demeanor was, and the look of the fall, and the kind of the twist and the bend that his leg did, I think it's safe to assume it's going to be at least a couple of games for Dickinson. And they got the Four Nations face-off break coming up, so it might not be as many games as if they didn't have that break or anything, but we'll end up seeing the severity of it. But yeah, it didn't look good, and it doesn't sound too optimistic that it's going to be a short-term thing.
Well, as I said at the game when it happened, hopefully Colton Dock didn't get too far down I-90 and make the quick U-turn and come back. I mean, sucks. You don't want to lose a guy like Jason Dickinson. He's one of your best. Even though his offensive production is not where it was last season, he's still, him and Ilya Mikheyev are your best two defensive forwards. So, but on the bright side, it's going to open up another spot for a young guy. Craig Smith comes back, takes away a spot from a young guy. Now you get this next man up. Let's see who, uses that to their advantage.
Yeah, I'm safe to assume it's probably going to be Colton Dock coming back. But yeah, I mean, you look at Dickinson's impact this season. He's not scoring goals or putting up points at the rate that he did last year, but his defensive impact is still where it was. And last year he was in the, there was a small conversation, but there was a conversation about him, being talked about in the Selke category, and I believe he even got some votes for the Selke Award last season. And this year, like, he is still drawing the toughest matchups from the opposition, and he's a guy that is on penalty kill. He's taking a lot of important faceoffs. Like, the impact that not having him on the team is going to have is going to be felt the most on the defensive side. And when you pluck a guy like Jason Dickinson out of this lineup, it's going to be a community effort from the group to kind of make up that slack defensively from the forwards group.
Well, I got to say, through one game against a really good opponent, they kind of held their own still. I mean, the second period, he left early in the second period. Hawks outshot the Oilers 9-8. The third period, Oilers had a 15-8 shot advantage. But, I thought that that Lucas Reichel, who primarily filled in for Dickinson on that line, did a pretty solid job of holding his own against a really, really stacked team.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good effort from those guys, and it's that group did what they were supposed to do and did what they were expected to do against drawing up a tough matchup against McDavid a lot, up against Draisaitl. Like, the Inter Sorensen before the game said that that group is their expectation was to kind of replicate what they did when they were paired together against the Panthers, which was kind of start to impact the game on the forecheck and open up some ice for Bedard, and they did that tonight. And I think that's definitely commendable. And when you have guys that play with speed and relentlessness, you're gonna make up for any skill set deficiencies you might have, because as Sorensen has preached since he's taken over, like your effort levels are going to fix a lot of problems. So when you have guys like Slaggert and Donato and Mikheyev tonight too, like guys that are fast and don't seem to really have an E on their gas tank, like that's going to make up a lot of ground.
When you look at the numbers, even with Dickinson out for half the game, at 5-on-5, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were both below 50% Corsi, which means the Hawks had more shots on shot attempts while those two guys were on the ice. McDavid, 17 shot attempts for and 19 against when he was on the ice, and even 7 to 10 in scoring chances. So the Hawks even had more scoring chances than the Oilers, and it was the same for Draisaitl, a 19 to 20 shot disadvantage for the Oilers when Draisaitl was on the ice, and scoring chances were even 10-10. So they did the job against the top two guys. You can live losing to the Oilers. If it's McDavid and Draisaitl that kill you, but on a night where you kind of shut them out and you still only get 1 point, it's tough.
That's frustrating.
It's tough when Victor Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner are the guys beating you, but it is what it is. Again, as we said earlier, you can't really, you're not upset with an effort level tonight. They played well as they did earlier this year. All 3 games against the Oilers were really good efforts against one of the top teams in the league and one of the fastest teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's commendable to have the pushback. This is definitely a game where, at the way that they got down 3-1, you could have definitely seen this team kind of fold it up, pack it in, like we've seen a number of times over the past few seasons here, where adversity hit them, goals in a short amount of time between each other, and they fought back, and they didn't give up. They worked themselves into getting a power play and then capitalized on it, and then they make a Bedard and Donato make a good play to set up Martinez, he's got a knack for scoring big goals at the UC. He makes himself open and buries it, and you go to overtime. Like it's good to see that they had that tonight, and that they can, when they're on their game and they're playing within their structure. Jay, you said it during the game, like they can hang with most teams, and now whether or not they can get over that hump is another thing. But at least for tonight, it was, you had the pushback, you had the fight back, you got the crowd back into the game, force overtime, and then the too many man call is just it's a bang bang, 4 guys on the ice, puck hits Teravainen, and it's like, Jesus, like what are you gonna do? So it's tough.
Well, the good news is, maybe good news, this concludes that stretch of 8 straight games against teams locked in the playoffs positions.
Yeah.
That streak will end Friday night against Nashville, but the Hawks have had trouble against Nashville, and they play
St. Louis
Saturday against St. Louis, who is not in a playoff spot, but the only time we've seen them this year, they shellacked them.
Yes, they did. You might remember that game. Yeah.
And they're going to wear the same uniforms in that awful game again. But, outside of the Panthers game, those 8 games, they played well. Against teams that you're supposed to get beat by, but you win a couple games. You beat Tampa. Yeah, you get a couple overtime games in there too. The Carolina first game against Carolina, Edmonton, you get the overtime. So I know Anders is kind of broken up this season in the segments, but that 8-game segment, considering the competition, you remove the Florida game, that's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
And again, as I said earlier, a lot of that has to do with because the young guys are contributing, and that's what should make you start feeling good when you see Landon Slaggert being effective in his role, when you see Frank Nazar making that defensive play in overtime against Connor McDavid, and those are the things that should get you excited. That's what we've been waiting to see for the last couple of years, and we're starting to see it in small batches, and those batches will only get bigger.
There's a great moment in this game where I believe it was the first period where McDavid was going up against Slaggert, and Slaggert just lifted his stick and took the puck away. And these little moments that keep happening. You mentioned the Nazar in overtime, catching up to McDavid and preventing him to get a shot on goal on a breakaway. These little momentary victories that these young players have are just going to go so far to raise their confidence, to make them see, okay, I belong here. I'm not just on this team because this team is bad and they need to fill roster spots. I'm here because I belong in the NHL, and I have my moments against the best player in the world. Maybe not on his best night, but it doesn't matter. Part of the reason he didn't have his best night was because of the way I played. And I think these guys can go home tonight pissed that they didn't get that second point, but feeling good about their individual performances.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in talking with both Landon Slaggert and Frank Nazar today after morning skate, like they just commented about how they just feel more confident, they feel more comfortable at the NHL level, and the speed of the game is slowing down for them, and that's big. Those are guys that are, Slaggert is technically in his first full season as a pro. Coming in late last year, Nazar too, those are both technically rookies. So for them to, at this stage of the game, start to feel confident with being able to handle the speed of the NHL and everything that it throws at them, that's big. And you can use that as stepping stones for them as they continue to progress and get more, opportunities, get more responsibilities. Those are two guys that are going to be playing now more penalty kill time now with Jason Dickinson out for the foreseeable future. So, that's opportunities for those guys to have more of those types of moments. And, the 8-game stretch, a 2-3-3 record doesn't sound great because basically it's 2-6, but yeah, outside of that Florida game, pretty much every game was close. You got results out of, 5 out of those, you got points out of 5 out of those 8 games. For where this Blackhawks team was, a few weeks ago, that's, you take that and you take those small victories away. And that's where you're at this point, especially with the young guys. You need to start stacking those small things so that they can become big things.
There's a veteran player I want to talk about in this game, and I want to talk about him while we still can, because Ryan Donato, again, not just simply scoring a goal, but nutmegged a few guys in this game today and looked great, and did it in front of what we rattled off the list earlier in the show, probably a dozen plus scouts from different teams in the league. I still would love to see the Hawks re-sign Ryan Donato. It seems like it's not going to happen. But every performance like this on the national stage against a marquee opponent with a million scouts in the building is driving up that trade value. And boy, I love the way he plays. I love the way he leads. I love his demeanor. I don't know. I would just love to see him come back, but apparently it doesn't seem to be the case. But he just another outstanding game for number 8.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because you see what he's doing, you see the value he's bringing to the team, and at the same time, what is the long-term outlook for him? I think he's still short of 30. I think there's a lot of his game that is good to kind of point to and say, these are the things that are going to help push you over the top of the NHL. And he's not the most skilled guy, but when you put in the hard work, you don't take shifts off, that's going to help take you places. So there's definitely some value there. But I think also too, this is an organization that is really looking towards the future. And I think they probably can strike while the iron is hottest on Donato. And, you look at some of the trades around the league, there could be maybe some overpayments coming as we reach March 7th, and he might be one of those guys that a team overpays on when it comes to the trade deadline, and opening up that pathway for the future players to come in and get an opportunity in the NHL, and then also maybe get an overpayment with a future asset or whatever it ends up being. That seems like more the route that the Blackhawks will probably go with him.
Yeah, as I'm a guy that's been on the let's bring him back bandwagon for sure, especially after nights like tonight. Yeah. But a night like tonight only raises his trade value, and with so many teams in the Eastern Conference with in striking distance of a wild card spot, the Blackhawks are going to be one of the few real sellers this at the trade deadline or whenever all the trades are done. We were on a pace where by the time March 7th rolls around, there's no reason to even have a podcast that day. So his trade value is never going to be higher than it is now. See what happens. But you look at a guy like Ryan Donato and what he's doing on a team like the Blackhawks where, he's playing up and down the lineup, but you look tonight, he's playing on the top line with Connor Bedard, and he's being effective. He's scoring a goal. He's getting a primary assist. When you think about him on a team that needs some bottom six help to make them more of a complete team. Teams like the Colorado Avalanche, a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
You put him on a team like that, and then all of a sudden he can do what he does, what he did tonight, but instead he's doing it against other teams' bottom six instead of having to do it against other teams' top defensive pairings. So I think he could be a very valuable third line, fourth line guy, on a team that's stacked in the top six, like those teams I mentioned.
Just think about the Dynasty Hawks adding a guy like Ryan Donato at the deadline. And that's I guarantee you, if Ryan Donato is traded to a cup contender, he will have a playoff moment this year. So he will score a massive goal for some team at some point during this offseason.
And his speed, the improvement he's made with his skating and his speed this year, even tonight, you saw in that first period, he just got through the neutral zone so quick. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's not the same guy he was a year ago.
He's more skilled than he gets credit for. And again, games like tonight, full of scouts, national audience, marquee matchup with Bedard and McDavid. Great night for Donato to have a great night.
Yeah, he's been stepping up, so that's been good to see for him. And he's a guy that's bounced around a lot, but if you bounce around and have an opportunity to play on a contender and go deep in the playoffs, that's big for these guys.
I know he spoke after the game too. Anything stand out from him?
The messaging basically from him and Alec Martinez was coming from the players' perspective, they're not going to take moral victories. They want to go and win every game that they step on the ice for. And so it was, as we were saying, hey, this stretch of games has been pretty decent for what you expect out of the Blackhawks. For them, it's more, this felt like something that they didn't take those extra steps and kind of let something slip away. So, again, it's where this team is at. You can only go so far, and for them, just being able to hang with the team is not good enough. They still want to be able to come out on top. So, it was from him and Martinez. The messaging was still hey, it's a disappointing result, even though you have the pushback to force overtime.
All right. Before we spring you, anything we should know? Nuggets or tidbits?
Yeah. No. It's. I think this was a game that had some good moments, and you have a tough matchup against the Oilers team, and like we said, we had some. You have some good takeaways, which I think is important, and I feel like it's a point earned for sure. You want to get that extra point, but I don't know. I've come away with this not feeling terrible about it. I think the only thing that you feel bad about is losing a guy like Jason Dickinson. That's really the worst part of it. I also would want to highlight Arvid Soderblom's game. He had a number of really good plays, really good saves that kept the Oilers off the board early, kept the Hawks in the game. Him and Connor Murphy, combining on that save. I think it was in the second period. He has had a fantastic stretch recently in net, and we've said it before, but he's definitely, in my eyes, should be taking over the majority of the starts here, the final 28 games of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% because, I've seen enough this year. And look, last year was ass. There's no denying it. I think he would tell you the same thing. But just as you've got Philip Kurashev with bad, good, bad, you've got Soderblom with good, bad, good in terms of his seasons with the Hawks so far. So there's more of a sample size that Soderblom's good, at least a legit backup on a good team, like a top tier backup. I think that's a very safe thing to call him at this point.
Yeah.
I'm ready to give him another look next year, and I know you've got Comesso, and I know you got Guyan, and maybe you draft the goalie this year, but those guys are still years away.
Guyan is in freshman year of college,
Right.
and has not been great.
Yeah, so
statistically,
bring him back.
Getting Soderblom improved and bringing him back for like another year or two only buys those guys more time.
And I am looking at this deadline. This is probably off day topic, but I'm looking to move Mrazek. And I mean, because Brossois signed for 2 years, hopefully you get something out of him next year. You let Camesso and Soderblom play the end of the year this year? Or?
Don't be surprised if Brossois bought out this summer.
That wouldn't shock me.
If he never plays, just thank you.
Yeah, it's rough.
Scott Powers had that like a week or so ago, and if he's saying it, it means he heard it from somebody.
It's not just pulling it out of his butt. All right, Mario, we'll spring you. Again, be careful out there, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 2:30 right here.
See you guys tomorrow for practice.
All right.
Can't wait.
That is Mario Tirabassi live from the United Center. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at Mario_Tirabassi. And he's on Blue Sky too. Just it's a big long thing. I don't think there's any underscore in Mario Tirabassi on Blue Sky, so you can follow him there as well.
Anti-underscore.
Good. I hate the underscore. Not a fan. Not a fan of the underscore. All right, we've got to get to the 4th star of the game. Before we do, you need to smash that like button for us. We are under 200 likes, and know we've got more than 200 people watching. So do us a favor, hit that like button for us. We'd really appreciate it. And now, Katie, if you'll do the honors, who is the 4th star of the game? It's Teuvo Teravainen, 2 assists, +1, 17:58 of ice time, 3 shots on goal, 4 shot attempts, and a hit. You mentioned it during the game. He was feeling it today. Looked really good. Looked like the Teuvo that the Hawks thought they were signing.
26 assists on the season.
That's
now.
it. He's pretty
you
much
said,
giving you what you expect.
He's getting ready to play some meaningful games for the first time this season.
That's
so
right.
Ramping it up for Team Finland. But that first goal, the Reichel goal at the end of the second period, that was great awareness by Teuvo. How many times this year have we been like, plays running down and nobody's screaming to shoot or anything and they don't get a shot off? The clock runs out.
Oh,
Teuvo with the awareness just throws it to the net, sees Reichel there. Reichel does the great job. And then his second assist on the Donato power play goal was almost the same exact play.
Yeah.
Except Donato was a little further away from the net, but recognized he was there in the slot with his stick. Boom, just going to get it quick off the stick towards the net, gets the redirect. Just 2 smart veteran plays.
And then in overtime, the knuckler hits the crossbar. Like,
oh that was at the end of regulation.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
like the final seconds.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
Yes, he's falling down, gets it over the glove of Captain Picard, and but it hits the crossbar. Yeah.
So 36 points in 53 games for Teuvo this year. 11 goals, 25 assists.
Slow start, but he's giving you exactly what you're paying for.
Yeah.
I still kind of want to see him get a long runway with Connor Bedard at some point.
I agree.
He's been really good with Mikheyev, and now with Dickinson out, I think he probably definitely stays on that line. But it's still a long way to go. But the 2 biggest signings in Bertuzzi and Teravainen, both guys had slow starts, but both guys, you've definitely gotten your money's worth this season.
Yep. One more thing I want to point out before we go, by the way. Frank Nazar 1-5 and lost 3 faceoffs, 63%. Connor Bedard 1-8, lost 5. Every Hawk was over 50%, aside from Jason Dickinson, who won 4 and lost 5. And Nick Foligno, who was 1 of 9. Oof. That is rare for him to get that pasted at the dot. So,
well, I guess somebody has to have the Bedard line if it's not going to be Bedard.
I guess so. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Do us a favor, become a diehard at allchgo.com today. You're going to get 20% off all of our wonderful merch at store.allcitynetwork.com. You're also going to get a free shirt, hat, whatever, upon sign up, or $35 off a hoodie if you prefer that, and 20% off all our events. So I think we've got one more takeover coming up. We're running out of time. Got to check in on that. But I know we've got at least 2 golf outings coming this summer. So if you want to save on that, we had our Sweet Night takeover. You saved $80 per ticket. If you were a diehard for that, you get access to our members-only Discord, which gave you priority on mailbag shows like we had on Tuesday. So lots of great reasons to become a diehard. Do it today, allchgo.com. Scan that QR code on your screen and join us here at CHGO. We'd love to have you as part of our diehard program. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, 2:30 after the Hawks practice. Hopefully get some encouraging news on Jason Dickinson. Ugh. And we'll see who's called up. We'll talk to you then on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.